Mining update, lesson about the industry and job hunt video. Welcome to Australian Mining for New Starters, and in today's video I'm going to run through the prices. We're going to do a lesson about how the industry's changed quite a lot in the last 6 months, and most people are going to have to pivot on what they're doing if they want an entry-level job. And then we are going to have a job hunt video at the end using all the normal titles that we use, which is really interesting for some of those titles, because from when we started about 2 months ago doing these videos to now, some of the ads have changed quite substantially, or the fact that they're not there anymore is a real obvious giveaway of how much the industry's changed over the last 6 months. But anyway, let's go through and first have a look at the gold price. Now, the gold price is $3,761 on the actual exchange, but I bring up this price here, the worldwide jewelry demand. The reason that I bring up this price is because this is the price that you'd pay if you went down to the Perth Mint and you bought a bar of gold. And this is the same price you'd pay if you did it in US dollars in America or anywhere else around the world. The other thing that's really interesting about today's US gold price is the fact that it's, for the first time ever, it's gone over $2,500 an ounce. So it closed at $2,510 or something like that US, and that's the first time it's gone through 2,500. So it'll be interesting to see what happens now, whether it goes up even more or whether there's a bit of a pullback. A lot of people reckon that once it went through 2,500 it was going to go a lot higher and not stop, so it'll be interesting to see what happens with that. Next, we've got the coal side of things, and so that is $122 a ton US. So it hasn't moved much, so everything's still where we've talked about it before. So I'll move on to iron ore, and iron ore has dropped about $10 a ton in the last couple of weeks, and that's interesting. It's not going to affect anybody's job at this stage or anything like that, because as we've talked about, they've gone into automation in a big way to try and bring the wages down and shore up that profit margin. They're also going through a lot of the middle management. If you follow the news at all, the business news especially, you'll see Fortescue and Mineral Resources Limited and a whole heap of other places that are churning through their offices in Perth and the other capital cities around the country, and they're getting rid of the people that they don't find as useful. So that's interesting too. As the price comes down a little bit more, there's going to be more of that stuff happening. The easiest, it's happened to me before on gold mines and nickel mines and copper mines before, when the price is adjusted. The only thing you need to ask yourself is, are you essential personnel? And if you're standing on the mine site doing a job, chances are that you're going to be essential personnel. Where they have lots of non-essential personnel is in a lot of head offices and regional offices and all that sort of stuff. So that's why the production mining jobs are the best jobs to have, because they're always the last to go, those jobs. So let's go over and have a look at our map. And this is the map with all the gold mines and base metal mines like copper and nickel and lead and silver and zinc and all those base metal mines that are necessary, that go into the electronics that run everything and supply the base power that we need to run everything. Because that's where it's all at the moment. Gold, the price is right way up, as we talked about, but it's also the other base metals apart from nickel. So what's happened in the last 6 months in the industry is that the lithium price has collapsed, and so's the nickel price, and the iron ore price has come down a fair bit, and there's been a couple of iron ore mines around this central area here that export through Esperance that are shutting down with Mineral Resources Limited. There's Nickel West that are going to close in October, and I've already been getting phone calls from people that are panicking about losing their job and not being able to go anywhere else because they've got highly specialised jobs. And that's what I mean about pivoting. Like, if you've got one of these highly specialised jobs that, you know, only works on the mine site that you're on, then you're going to have to pivot into something else, and, you know, you're going to need to acquire a bit more knowledge or do a bit more training or learn, you know, how the mine works in a different area of the industry, so you can keep your career going and pivot into that next area. And it's the same with entry-level people at the moment, because a lot of entry-level people think that their best way in is in shutdown and civil work, and the problem with that at the moment is that the shutdown circuit has been squeezed by a quarter or even a third of the normal amount of work. And when you go down by that amount of work, it becomes hard to get a job to start with and hard to keep a job as well, because they've got so many choice of people all wanting work that are experienced. And when you get the scale of shutdowns that we've had, or the scale of closures that we've had going into care and maintenance over the last 6 to 8 months, then there's been a significant, there will be and is a significant downturn in the shutdown side of things, the civil side of things, just because the amount of projects out there that are looking to expand and looking to do stuff has been significantly reduced. Now, there's still lots of jobs around. That's the caveat in it all, but they're just not everywhere like they were 12 months ago or 18 months ago, where all the areas of the industry were looking for people. Now only really certain areas of the industry are looking for people, and you need to pivot into those areas. And the best way to work out what needs people at the moment is to have a look at the prices of things. If the price is up, the chances are they probably need people. If the price is treading water or it's down significantly, chances are that all they're doing is replacing people that have left. They're not putting new people on because they're trying to expand production or do anything like that. They're just replacing people that have left through natural attrition. And that's not where you want to be looking for your entry-level job, because it's going to be really hard to get into an entry-level job when you go into an area that's just dealing with natural attrition. You want to be going into an area where they are expanding. And I wrote this thing on the underground training website a few weeks ago, because it's back up to this price now. Ironically, it closed at the end of the week on this exact price again, but it just shows you, and we talk about how the gold mines are the place to be looking for work at the moment, and chances are most of the gold mines now are going to be underground gold mines, because that's just the way it's shaking out at the moment. And here you can see the price, and it's going up, and that's what the graph you want it to look like. Whereas if you have a look at the the graph that we've got from the coal price, you see it's had its big high up there and it's come all the way back down again. Yeah, and it's just it's come off $400 at one stage going back a few years, and then it's just sunk right back down again. So it's almost the reverse of this gold graph. And that's the crux of it. A lot of people are still looking for coal jobs. They're still looking for iron ore jobs that just they just really aren't there at the moment. Whereas they're not looking at the gold jobs that are around the country. And if you have a look at all these mines here in WA, Kalgoorlie's probably the best place to go to get a gold job at the moment, the most mines. But then you've got North Queensland, up around Charters Towers, the middle of New South Wales, around Orange, Dubbo, Parks, West Wyalong, all looking for people. Down in Tasmania, they've got their gold mines firing back up again, as well as their base metal mines. The Store were looking for everybody for a mine that looked like was opening up again shortly in Victoria. And you've got all the copper mines in South Australia that are all looking for people at the moment. There's work everywhere, as we're about to have a look at when we look at the jobs on the job hunt video side of things. But it's just not where people traditionally have been looking, and it's all pivoted because of what's happened in the last 6 months with the downturn in lithium, nickel, and iron ore to a certain extent, with some big mines shutting down, or a couple of companies choosing to close a couple of big projects that they've got going on at the moment. So if we go over to Seek and we type underground in, you'll see all the jobs come up. And first like cab off the rank is entry level for Barminco in WA, and then you've got the Nipper job, then you've got a drillers offsiders job, and it's projects, underground projects, current mining vacancies, looking for everything and everybody, underground truck operator. Everybody's looking for experienced people for these nippers and truck jobs, but as I've talked about in large detail and a number of times, is that they can't get them, because anybody that's got 6 to 12 months experience is looking for a service crew job, because the service crew jobs are everywhere as well, and they pay a lot more money than the truck driving and nipper jobs do, and it's the next rung up on the ladder to get where the really good money is. But there you go, there's truck drivers and jumbo offsiders looking for Tasmania, so that's in Tassie. But there's work all over the country. Next, we'll have a look at surface. And this is pretty interesting because normally when we started doing these videos probably about 2.5 months ago, the first time we typed surface in, there are still a lot of all-rounder jobs. So people with truck driving and bulldozing and grading and digger experience, they wanted an all-round operator. But now when you look through the first page of this, there's not really a lot of that going on at the moment. There's a lot of off-sider jobs. There's a couple of regional jobs that are that look like they are for here we go, production operators, surface mining. There it's a regional job. I'm not sure what they're getting you to do there, but it's still reasonably good money, long-term job opportunities. But that's the only ad, and this is that ad again, in the front page. All the other ads are for offsiders and production supervisors and that sort of stuff. Whereas 12 months ago, if you type surface in, this would be full of truck driving jobs, and there aren't any because the big mines that have employed all the surface truck drivers have all either gone into care and maintenance, or a lot of them have pivoted to the driverless trucks. And that's unfortunately what's going on with the surface mines. So again, if you want to get into mining, you really need to have a look at where the jobs are at the moment, and the majority of the jobs are in surface offsiding, so drillers offsiding like we're about to have a look at here, and the underground side of things. And you can see there's a lot of good paying jobs on the surface. Drillers offsiders, 2 and 1. You start on that 110 to 120,000 a year these days, which is up significantly on what it was 18 months ago. It was only about 90,000 18 months ago. But you earn your money as a driller's offsider, and if you do it on the surface, you've got to like camping. So there's lots of jobs there. And the last one we're going to look at is the utility job. And utility, there's a lot of jobs here, but the money is starting to rationalise a bit or not rationalise, it's starting to come back down to, not a lot anymore. And there's an ad here. This is a good example of that. 2 and 1 on 76,100 a year. That is going to be just a bit over $25 an hour. For a 2 and 1 roster on a fly and fly out. I know people look at the 76,000 and think, okay, that's a fair bit of money, but it's not a big hourly rate on that money. And the reason that the companies like this can do that is because, again, it's got the same thing going on as that I was talking about before with the shutdown in civil. Because of that nickel, lithium, and the iron ore shutdowns of the large mining projects, or putting them into care and maintenance, it's all shrunk. So they don't need as many utility workers because they're not using them. There'll still be some utility workers on those sites that are in care and maintenance because they still need people there, but it won't be anywhere near the number it was before. And it's the same thing that I was talking about with shutdown work. The whole thing's constricted or contracted by at least a quarter, if not a third. And that means that they've got more experienced people looking for jobs. And when you've got lots of experienced people looking for jobs, that drives the wages down. So that's what's going on with utility work, unfortunately. So if you want to get into the industry, my advice is to pivot to either the offsiding on the surface or the hard rock underground, and you can do that by educating yourself. You can use the DIY package that we've got. So if you come over here to Intro to Underground Mining and you come down here, you can go through and you can click on all these tabs and you can open them all up so you can have a look at what you learn and all that sort of stuff. But this is what everybody wants you to know. They want you to know how it all works so you can actually have a proper conversation with them in the interview about it all. And the general mining information, underground tag boards, 'cause it's really important with firing times and all that sort of stuff. Information, safety representatives, different types of mining. It just goes through the whole 9 yards so you can actually have a proper conversation with the foreman in the interview. And the reason that I brought up the 3-step package plan before is because you get all that education and then you get the resume service that Jess does. And so she'll sort you out your resume for you, and then the last step you just need to do is do a bit of networking within the industry. And like I said, there's so many jobs around at the moment, especially in the hard rock underground stage, that you can just you're putting jobs out everywhere. And if we go back to our map, what I'd like to tell people is that if you're in the eastern states, have a go at getting one of the jobs in these mines around here. Give yourself 6 to 8 weeks to do that. That gives you probably your best shot. But your backup plan is packing everything up, throwing it in the car and driving to Kalgoorlie or to Cobar or up to Mount Isa, one of the big mining towns. We've got a guy coming over from Brisbane, and he's heading over to Kalgoorlie in the next couple of weeks, but he has orchestrated himself, so he's doing a couple of interviews through New South Wales on the way through, and he's just going to keep driving until he gets a job, and when he gets a job he's going to stop and he's going to do his 6 months and then go from there. And that's a really good plan because it gets your foot in the door. Once you've got your 6 months up in the job, you're going to be able to get a job at any one of these mines around the country because that's what everybody's looking for. They're looking for somebody that's got 6 months and 1 day experience. Why? Because the foremans have got a hard and fast rule that talks about if anybody that doesn't do their 6 months, so you do 5 months and 27 days, they consider it as failure because you should have been able to gut out the other 4 days to make it past your 6 months. And that's one of the unwritten rules that we've got on our YouTube channel in the unwritten rules section. So I suggest you go and have a look at that video. I'll link it in above here somewhere. And do your 6 months and then reassess what you want to do or where you want to go. And I know people that have successfully come across from the eastern states, done 6, 12, 18 months here in Kalgoorlie and then transferred back with the same company to a mine closer to home and got the fly-in fly-out job that they really wanted from the start and set themselves up for the next 10, 15 year career. I mean, it's just about nutting your way through the problem and giving the employers what they want and also putting yourself in a position where you know what's going on when you're walking through the front door. Because if you don't know how the mine works and you're starting on day one completely green, unfortunately, it's 3 and 5 fail in the first 6 months and there's only 2 and 10 left after 2 years. And that's why there's so many of these job ads around constantly, because they just motor through people in this industry. And it's not just, people that fail on the first first, second or third day, which there's lots of, but there's also people that get 2 months into it and decide that it's not for them. They get 12 months into it and decide that it's not for them. And there's lots of people that come up to the 2 year mark and they think, okay, I've done 2 years in this, do I really want to go on? And a lot of them pull the pin and go back to what they were doing before. It's just one of those industries that turn over a lot of people. That's why there's all the job ads, and that's why, if you want a job in the industry, you need to prepare yourself before you go. So I hope you found that information helpful, and if you could share this information around and like and subscribe the channel. Thanks.